Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today we have an interesting mouse here. This is from a company called Rapoo, and this is their MT760L, and this is a mouse that retails for about 70 Canadian dollars, and you can tell by the front of the box, if you have used any kind of mice before, that this is obviously going head-to-head with something like the Logitech MX Master Series. This one specifically is often compared to the 3S. And that mouse is about 129, around 130 Canadian dollars. So they are essentially cutting the cost of that mouse in half if these two are directly comparable. So a couple things right off the bat. Rapoo sent me this mouse for the purposes of the production of this review. While I'm not being financially compensated, I did receive the product at no cost to myself. My opinions and my reviews, of course, as always, remain my own. So let's dive right into this. This mouse is primarily designed for a Windows environment. They make that pretty clear on the side of the box here. Bluetooth 5.0, 2.4 gigahertz, and wired connectivity. Now they say that you can pair this via Bluetooth with several different kinds of devices, up to 7 in fact. There is an 800 milliamp rechargeable lithium-ion battery inside, which is supposed to give you around 90 days of use. However, that's going to depend on the polling rate that you set this to. Lower polling rates obviously won't drain the battery as quickly. Higher ones will. There are 7 DPI settings: 800, 1000, 1200, 1600, 2400, 3200, and 4000. There is also an interesting feature that they call M-Cross, which is where you're supposed to be able to move the mouse to the side of the screen and move files in between two computers. Interesting if it works. Let's go ahead and open this box and see what we get inside. We have 2 security seals on either side that will need to be cut with our trusty little mini knife here. And then we've got a pull tab here. We have the mouse inside. And then inside this box, we have an instruction manual, the 2.4 gigahertz receiver, and then a USB Type-C to USB Type-A cable. Pretty standard, nothing super exciting there. So let's clean this down and take a look at what we've got. Here is the mouse itself. The mouse comes in 3 colors: pink, black, and gray. This is the gray model. And you can immediately tell what they're going for here. There's a whole bunch of stickers on the bottom that it wants you to remove for the padding. I find it interesting that these just don't come removed. I'm not used to seeing this. Normally these things are already, they just don't come on there. I'd be curious to know if this is something that happens on these kinds of mice, because I haven't tried the MX that this is competing against, but it just seems to be one more thing that I've got to do before I can use the mouse. And it would appear that you can store the receiver under there. We have our switch for Bluetooth, and then 1, 2, and 3 for the devices. 2.4 gigahertz pairing, straight up. Feels good in the hand. Buttons are silent, so you're not getting a sharp click. Scroll wheel for left, right is where you'd expect it to be. The forward and back buttons on the side here are good. Depending on your hand size, you're either going to have to shift your thumb or kind of use that break in your joint. Scroll wheel is okay. So it took me a second to figure this out. You have to press down on that edge to flip up this compartment, and you have a wireless receiver that's really dug in there. And then you also have this wireless receiver. So you have 2 wireless receivers for the same mouse, and I believe that this has to do with the M-Cross technology and the rapid switch. So we're going to go ahead and set it up on the filming computer here. And yeah, that works pretty much as intended. Now, if we go into the manual, it wants us to get some drivers from Rapoo.com, and it says in the search bar to type in MT760. And I guess there is a difference between the Pro and the L and M, and this is the L, so we'll click on that. Yeah, that's neat. Looks like it got a red dot winner, 2023. And I'm learning that the scroll wheel on the side is a Hall magnetic sensor, which, yeah, it absolutely is. But it does make me wonder why they didn't make the top one that as well. Precision tracking, that is true. The only surface it won't work on is glass. Okay, I did not find the drivers. Let's go to the download center. Okay, and now I've got to search here, I'm guessing, for MT760. Doesn't look like I want this top driver, because it says this driver doesn't support M+ wireless cross screen. For M+ wireless cross screen, please install another driver. So not that one. So we'll go with this one, hoping that it's the most current. So this is the program. And I always get a little annoyed when I see not logged in, because I don't want to log in to use a mouse. So there are the DPI settings. It's currently set at 1200. We can assign keyboard combinations. And from what I understand, they are stored in persistent memory on the mouse. We've got pointer speed, roller speed, the refresh rate, which we can set from 125 all the way up to 1000 Hertz. So this appears to be the M Cross. We'll come back to that in a second. So it looks like there's ways to upgrade the firmware for the dongle as well as the firmware for the mouse. To upgrade the firmware for the mouse, it needs to be a wired connection. It appears that this program is running a local server of some kind in the background. We do need a second device, so we're going to use a laptop. And what I'm really curious about is whether or not we actually have to have that program installed on the other device as well, or if it just needs to be installed on one device. Okay, so you do need to have the program installed on both computers. If it was written in the manual, I will tell you right now, it was not super clear. So if you can set up which device essentially is on the left and the right. So currently I've got my mouse on this screen over here, which you can see, and I'm going to switch these around, and they flip here as well, which is neat. Because if I move the mouse over, I'm now on this device. And then if I move it to the right of the screen, I get this white bar that lets me know what I'm about to do. I push the mouse some more, and it moves over. And I have to say, it is pretty quick. So that functionality does seem to work pretty well. Now, one thing that it also should support is a clipboard function. Let's copy a URL. So yeah, there we go. That's the information that I was able to pull over. Now, I imagine that there are programs that you could get that allow you to do this with any mouse. It is certainly neat if you're running multiple devices on a single desktop, but you only want to use a single mouse. At any rate, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed the quick little exploration of this Rapoo MT760L. For the price point, I don't really have any complaints. It seems to do everything that you would want a mouse to do. Build seems to be decent. Doesn't feel super cheap in the hands. The buttons are silent, which I appreciate. It's got a good ergonomic grip. It would have been nice if this Hall sensor tech that was used here for scroll left-right was also used for the scroll wheel up top. I think that would have really helped add to the premium feel, but I also understand that people have their preferences on how they want their scroll wheel up top to feel. I will say that the documentation needs work. Accessing a lot of these features was a little bit of trial and error and exploration. And if you're picking up one of these and you don't mind a little bit of trial and error and exploration, where things aren't necessarily very clearly laid out to you, then you're not really going to struggle with this, or if you do, it won't be for very long. But it would really be good, I think, for there to be some very clear documentation, perhaps a video clip or something like that, just to illustrate that you do require the software kit that they have running on any devices that you wish to use that cross-screen switching function on. But I have to admit, it seems to work pretty darn well. The button programming, again, works pretty well. Like everything works the way that you would expect it to based on the promises that they give you on the side of the box. So kudos to them. And I look forward to seeing what they might do on a updated or a slightly more premium version of this mouse. At any rate, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave your questions down below because I'm probably going to use this mouse for a little while longer. All right, I'll see you next time.